Welcome to another Rails quick tip. This is going to be about Rake tasks in Rails and generating tasks that can make your life easier when it comes to automating things and maybe fetching data or updating records while you sleep, something to that effect. I use these commonly for just updating statuses on blog posts to, fetching new data and importing it into other apps as like CSV data. So stuff that's boring to stuff that's not as boring. But the whole reason you'd want to make a task typically is something that's repeatable. And then the idea behind it is that you could call a rake command or Rails these days and call that from some other environment, programming it in such a way to make it basically run itself. So without further ado, I've created a new Rails app, Rails 7, nothing pretty much boilerplate here. I did install a gem called Whenever just to demonstrate maybe how you'd use it with that gem. There are other solutions out there. Heroku has its own like scheduling UI. I don't know that other places use something as such, but all that to say, we could generate just a fictitious task, and I just want to show you how you do it. So typically with Rails, you can generate a ton of stuff. If you run Rails G or Rails generate, you'll see all these specific things you could use that are called generators, and these typically just generate either some boilerplate code or files, so to speak, based on some naming conventions you pass. Most of these come ready to roll. You don't need to do much, but a lot of them come where you still need to do a little bit in our case. So this is how it would look in the end if you write your new task. The default generator doesn't actually give you the task command to actually write it per environment. So you need to add these couple of lines. And then within here is where you would actually write your logic. So typically in my world, I'd probably use like a background job in this case or something that is a job file that can be put in on a queue. So like Sidekick or something that can be in the background. So if it's like taxing, like you're doing a ton of records or something, you probably want to go that route. If it's just something simple like fetching some endpoint once and it's done, then it's probably not that big a deal to just do it once. So this is how it might look. You'd have a description if you want, and then the task is what it's called, and then this environment is kind of a placeholder for what the environment would be. So locally it's development, then production is production. So I'm going to put a puts here and just say users updated 1 2 3, something like that. I don't know, just kind of a example use case. Definitely not perfect. We'll do the shrug. All right, and then if we go Rails G again, we should be able to see, if we say Rails tasks, I think it's tasks, -- tasks, we should be able to see the new task in the command line now. And that little description there is now there. If you didn't add that, you wouldn't see anything there, but that's, it's up to you. You can open this really wide and see all those descriptions should you need to. I didn't bother with that right now. Ooh, I've got that Whenever gem GitHub open there. So that tells me that task is able to be run at this point, and we can actually go ahead and run it and just see what happens. So Rails users update, and there it goes. It outputs some stuff. We could just do some fanciness there. I don't know, 1 2 3 date.today. So that's what you could potentially do. Of course, your logic there will be a lot cooler, and the whole point of this is that then you could take it to something like a gem called Whenever. That's kind of a scheduling tool, so it's more or less a way to update a cron tab, either going through cron jobs or something like Heroku scheduler, like I mentioned before, where you can take that rake task and bring it to an environment that it can be automated. So and that way you're able to take it and run with it and do it in a way where basically when you sleep, these things can run. So I did this on I used to have a job board that I created. Didn't really pan out, but the jobs would update every night and I didn't have to touch it really. So I just needed to kind of oversee what was happening, and I'd go fetch jobs from other resources, other sites that I thought were compelling, and bringing that data in, it would kind of post. That was to kind of get the job board up and going before people would post. So I kind of automated that in such a way. And it's kind of the route you could take in such a way. You could just go either scrape other sites if you want to, or some of that other stuff that's coherent to whatever you're doing. So the idea here is I've installed this Whenever gem, and then you could go into, if you want to check out the Whenever gem, it's on this link here, and you need to run bundle exec wheneverize. I've already done that just to save some time. And then on the config schedule file, you can do whatever kind of basically schedule you want. So I'll just say like every day do, then we could say he has Rake here. I'll do Rake just so it works. I don't know if it's updated for the Rails conventions yet, but we could just say Rake and then say users update and run that task. So now that will automatically do it every day. I'm guessing at like midnight or something, but you could check out the documentations on that. But this is specifically for cron jobs, so that might be a little different for something like Heroku, which might be cron. I'm not sure, but that's how you could automate such a thing and do things with tasks. And the more you kind of dive into these, the more you realize how much you can automate on your apps, especially if you're a solo dev. So I definitely invite you to check that out and learn more about it. It's pretty much all there is, though, as far as tasks go. It's quite simple. You can namespace them quite deep, so they're like 3 layers. So notice it's users : update. You could add another task here and do something like create, I don't know, and like that. It would work the same, just being able to access it. So yeah, let's see if that updates. Yeah, I don't think you can. Yeah, you can. I have to spell right. So yeah, well, let's see. Can you only have one? You might only be able to have one. Today I learned. Yeah, okay. So you might need to actually namespace a new task out, which probably makes sense. You probably want, a single responsibility rule for a specific task anyway. So that's just how you could go and approach that in such a way. So hopefully that's helpful. There's plenty more you could do with tasks. It's quite an open book, so I didn't really go deep on like a specific strategy because I think it's relative to whatever app you're building, but you can use them to pretty much do anything you want in an automated way. Hello Rails is my new course on Ruby on Rails. I'll teach you Ruby on Rails from the ground up. Visit hellorails.io for more information.